me on your show.
So this is Creative Pickings, as I was trying to describe to you earlier. Creative Pickings is a show or a podcast or a segment where we talk to artists of all kind, whether you're a painter, entrepreneur, singer, songwriter, everything else in between. And we want to know how you became who you are, all the challenges you had moving forward, and what keeps you creative. So I wanted to start off with like the very early stages of your musical career, because you're known for all your accolades from songwriter, singer, performer. How did that start?
I entered the business as a backup singer, officially. I've been singing in choir since prep at the Ateneo, all the way to my senior year at university, also at the Ateneo. But in between, I went to Bacolod. I grew up there in Bacolod. But all these years, from prep up to senior year at the university, my training was choir singing. Are you a choir singer?
I'm a choir singer as well, so I can completely relate.
It's the best, right?
Best for harmony.
And there are new studies about that. Singing in a choir wires your brain in such a way that it's a social thing. On top of it being you get your chops as a musician in the choir. So really hardcore choir geek. And
so you're one of those people that would just stay or come in early first class and then stay late and just do choir and just sing.
And in between your free time, in between subjects, classes, we'd hang out at the Glee Club. At the Glee Club
There was
room.
already a Glee Club back then, no?
Yeah.
I guess that was popularized by the show.
Yeah. So that's my training. And when some of the members of my clique in the Glee Club started graduating, they missed singing in a choir, withdrawal symptoms. So we said, okay, because they started getting their first jobs at the corporate world, IBM, Citibank, real life takes over after uni. But they still missed singing. So we said, let's meet every Friday. Let's sing in harmony because we love to do that. But unlike the Glee Club, let's not do classical, traditional choral music. Let's try to do some jazz, published work, jazz and something different from the Glee Club. So we did. And one of the members of that little group owned an Italian restaurant called Italian Village. Pretty famous at that time, 70s and 80s. And she offered us, she said, we keep on rehearsing. We've been doing this for like 2 or 3 months. Here's the offer. Sing at our Italian joint, acapella sets, and we'll give you pizza.
Wow.
I said, it's free pizza at a high-end Italian
must have
restaurant.
Been good pizza, no?
It's good pizza. It's not commercial, It's a high-end restaurant.
Homemade. Yeah.
So we said yes. We would do, I think, 3 45 or 2 45 sets of acapella.
All acapella.
All acapella. At Italian Village. That's Makati Avenue. The building is still there, but the restaurant is no longer there.
Wow.
So one night actually, Ryan Keabiab, our new national artist, was there, and he was on a date with his fiancée, Emmy. And of course, we were freaking out. We knew Ryan from the Ateneo College Glee Club, but he was, even in 1985, he was already Ryan Keabiab.
Yeah.
So we were in awe of him. I think he liked what he heard, and he said, would you be interested in being backup vocalists of Celeste Legaspi?
Wow.
She's coming up with a big show at the main theater of the Cultural Center of the Philippines, and it is all before these LED shows, concerts. It was a multimedia concert. and the title was Comics Concierto, an ode to the art form of, you would call them graphic novels now, but it's called comics in Filipino parlance. So we were 12, and it's never been done, I guess.
12 singers.
12 singers.
Wow.
He had a rhythm section. It was a 5-piece rhythm section, but the backup vocalists were 12. And we became the company. And
started off as 12 with the company.
Yeah.
Wow.
And all from Ateneo. And
wow.
so we were utilized as backup vocalists and on some musical theater actors. So we would sing and dance and act on stage and do the backup vocals under Ryan Gabyab. So sorry for a very long answer, but that's
amazing.
That's the way we got into the business. We got into the business via the big room, literally. Cultural Center of the Philippines under the musical direction of Ryan Gabyab, with one of the biggest stars, artists of the 80s, Celeste Legaspi. So that was in November of 1985. Totally unplanned because, as I shared with you, we got together and did our harmonies for ourselves. It was therapeutic. And then one thing led to another. That was November. By January, we had a big arena show. It's a venue called Ultra. It's in Pasig, I think University of Life. And then by February, so that January show was with Gary Valenciano, Martin Rivera, Jaja Padilla, and Annette Inventor. We were doing backup vocals there. It was called Apat Dapat Dapat Apat. And by February, we were doing a Valentine's show with Kula Desma, another big star from the 80s, at the Manila Hotel. So it was the big time immediately. Of course, we were backup singers. And I said, by February, said this is turning to something unplanned. So we chose the name already. But some of the members said, this is not what we signed up for. But we said, let's see where this goes and for how long the boat floats. And 33 years after, the boat, thank God, is still floating. Sorry, long answer.
No, it's really good. I want to build on that, actually, because this is really like soul enriching for me too, being a musician, being an artist, and for everyone that's listening as well, right?
I hope it's not just like mindless chatter, but I'm just sharing with you my journey.
Let me ask you about that time when you guys were still just rehearsing. From those rehearsals, like, did you think that this was going to turn into something? Because all 12 of you would just have work during the day, and then every Fridays, hey, let's meet up and let's sing our favorite songs. Like, did you guys think, or even like aside from your friend that planned to have you sing at that restaurant, were you guys going, wow, this is good, maybe we should record this, or should we try to do something, right?
We recorded it. Ryan Gabyab, even before he gave us the job, when he found out there were a bunch of kids trying to do acapella and acapella jazz, he said, I wrote a chart from the 70s. It's a song called Didn't We, written by the great Jimmy Webb. And the chart was tough, a lot of chromatics. But so we took a stab at it, and then nabuo namin. Then we recorded it, but at that time we didn't have any budget, so we didn't record at the big studio. So it was just like a 4-track, and we couldn't punch in, so you had to sing it cleanly, straight through. So I think I still have a copy of that. I will be disingenuous if I said I never really had plans of doing this professionally. Maybe the other members didn't have plans of doing it professionally, but me, even as far as grade school in the 70s, I already found my calling. I just wanted to, if it's possible, to make a living singing harmonies. My main goal was to be a backup vocalist.
Wow.
I was not an audiophile, a music lover even as a child. But I was most attracted to not the leads, but the backup vocals.
That's who you watch when you watch a band, the backup vocals?
The backup vocals. When I listen, when I buy albums, LPs, vinyl.
Yeah.
This, you remember, it's the 70s. So how they would ornament the lead vocals, how they would enhance the song. So I think it's also the style of pop music at that time, you know. A lot of harmonies from Motown to even disco songs. A lot of good vocal harmonies and textures. Another, just an example, you're a musician, so you know this guy. Luther Vandross started as a backup vocalist. And I find out that a lot of the songs that I loved hearing, especially with the backup vocal arrangements, Luther was very, very busy in New York doing that. And
wow, that I didn't know. Actually.
Yeah,
he's
Luther,
his voice is so distinct. Right?
I know, but I think he was not only a backup vocalist, he was also a vocal contractor. That's at that time in history wherein, you know, you would do many vocal recording sessions in a day, and he has his posse, like a list. So he would be the one to contract those. Another famous group in the 80s after the Waters, their siblings, Maxine Waters, Julia Waters, they owned Los Angeles. They owned California. All of the session work, the Waters siblings would do that. Wow. Apparently, from reading a lot of literature, that scene, even in the States and here, is gone. I think it's because of digital technology.
Of course, yeah.
Everyone can record in their studio, and you can email a track in. So that scene is gone. I was very, very fortunate during those times when we were still half backup vocalists and half company. I got into the circle here. You know, it's a very closed circle, and you can get in if you read fast. Now, I don't read fast, but I pick up really fast because of choir. Yeah. Because of choir training.
Well, you studied, I guess, conservatory as well, right?
No, I didn't.
You didn't study, but you
My
can
major
read...
is advertising.
Oh.
Yeah, at the Ateneo.
What? You studied
don't have music.
You didn't do music in Ateneo.
Even up to now, there's no music in Ateneo.
So,
sorry.
Was this a natural transition then? Like going from marketing into music? What did your parents think at the time? Like,
I've always... Music, my earliest...
Because you saw yourself doing music, singing harmony, but you were still in marketing.
Because I figured out that if the music thing didn't work out, what I would do is I would enter an ad agency during the day. That would be my day. And at night, maybe sing with a band. Because I was very inspired by the life, excuse me, of my uncle. My uncle, his name is Eugene Villaluz. He was with this iconic and legendary show band called the New Minstrels. They were really, really big in the 70s. And, you know, he was a banker at Citibank. Before Citibank, it was called FNCB, First National City Bank of New York.
Wow, okay.
Before Citibank. So he was a banker, and then he would sing at night. I said, I can do that.
Oh, wow.
So that was the plan. Either a backup singer or a singer in a band, and work in an ad agency. But we formed company. I was still a junior at the Ateneo. I still didn't graduate. So, and I was very, very blessed when we got that job from Ryan. I was a junior.
Yeah.
And since junior year at uni, I already wasn't asking allowance from my dad because I was earning my keep. I couldn't afford the tuition at the Ateneo, but I was already earning my allowance. So, you know, the blessing is not lost on me. This is what happened to me and my group is a beautiful anomaly. it worked out. It really worked out thanks to him. Thanks to him. It worked out.
Not just luck and God, but I think you guys worked really hard for it.
We
as
did.
well.
We did. And there were times, like 5 years, Gio, when the members would say, is it worth it? Is it worth it? We're already in our mid-20s and nothing's happening. If it's not going to happen now, and you know how ageist the industry still is, much, much more in the 80s, is it worth it? Is it going to happen? So we were really contemplating, but you know what? One baby step in front of the other. We pressed on. It's perseverance. And even at times when you just want to throw in the towel and say, I don't think this is happening in our lifetime, and it was a good shot, we just kept at it.
You kept at it.
Really. Even at times when it was like, there were tears because you're frustrated. There were tears. You're young. You're very temperamental. You're envious because you see other people who you feel don't deserve it, but they get ahead of you in the so-called race.
Yeah.
You're young, so you don't think in terms of the race is between me and myself. You always compare yourself, especially, even up to now, with social media, people always tend to compare each other's life journeys. It's human nature, but all the more when you have nothing and you still don't have a name, you're trying to find your place in the world as an artist and a musician. It's very easy to throw in the towel, but I'm very glad we didn't.
What kept you guys wanting? Because it's so easy to split up. There's so many bands here that are struggling, right?
Group,
How do you stick together? Because for me, one of the reasons I don't want to have a band is I know those struggles of just people growing up, having families, moving to a different country.
That's right.
It's so hard to ask someone to commit. It's like, hey, we need to sit down for at least 5 years. And we need to do this. It's so hard to ask that of someone. So how do you guys push through when those those kinds of negative thoughts come in? It's like, we're getting old. I don't think we can do this anymore. Like, it's 33 years, right? That's
right,
and still going.
Yes,
I'm sure those problems still reoccur.
Unbelievable. Whether we are worthy, we feel worthy of the blessing or not. It's unbelievable, really. And I'm very grateful it happened because this is what I really wanted to do with my life, even as a child. This is what I wanted to do. To answer your question, how? Getting a member is like getting a spouse, literally.
Yeah. Feels like
you gotta.
You guys are getting married to each other.
Yes, you gotta get along on stage and off stage. And it's a lot of work. I really don't have the answer to your question, but
what do you guys do
basically
actively?
The commitment of talking to each other, even about the awkward and awful stuff, because we've seen each other's ugly bits. We've seen each other when our armor is down. We've, especially me and Annie, all the ugly bits and the ugly cries, we've shared that. But, early on, during our first year, we got very good advice from the members of the APO, Hiking Society. Yeah. With APO, they said, at that time in the 80s, they said, no one threatens each other or anyone that they're going to walk away. Apo said that, and that really stuck. And then the other big advice that they said, you will be remembered for your originals, not for your covers. So really do originals. Yeah. Do originals. And that stuck, They told it to us before company. So in 84, because we were friends. And don't threaten to leave. Work it out. Talk amongst yourselves, and in anything, whether it's money, or whether it's personality, or whether it's business, or values. Just talk. Just like any marriage, just talk. Now, if it's irreconcilable, You
Then
can
at that
still
point.
walk away and
Yeah.
not hate each other. It doesn't have to be acrimonious, really. It really doesn't have to be.
That's amazing. You know, I think people need
Did
to
I answer your
recognize that.
question?
No, it totally does. I think people need to recognize, though, like when you guys perform on stage, the fact that you've gone through all of that. Sometimes maybe we, as
Oh,
an audience
man.
member, take that for granted because what you guys are doing, sticking together, it's hard work.
It is. I mean, you know,
And still creating new content and like still entertaining us. It's amazing.
it is a lot of hard work, but you know, if you love what you're doing, it's super cliche. But I really, this is what I think, even after all these years, I meant to do this on earth, you know. I'm very lucky that early on in my youth, I found my value card. It's funny that you should be talking about this because I have this memory, maybe it's still not healed, but in high school, we were in, do you know the term ROTC?
No. what's
ROTC, citizens training. So
Okay.
you have that here. You have that here.
Okay.
And one of the officers would say, can't you do anything else except singing? Is that all you're good at? And it was a really big blow to my ego and my psyche because I did question that. Is that
Wow.
all I'm good at?
Wow.
And you know, even if
Yes.
and eventually, I found out that that's not the only thing I could do.
Of course.
But even if that was the only thing I could do, it's good enough. The fact that you find your value card in life is one of the reasons why you're here. Your purpose in life. So
A lot of people don't have that privilege sometimes, no?
and sometimes
Yeah.
a lot of people, your unexamined life, nga, no?
Yeah.
They never find it.
They never find
But I'm very, very blessed. I didn't have that struggle with finding your value card. Am I rambling? Sorry.
No, it's really, really good. Actually, to transition into that, something else you do really, really well, which hopefully you know of yourself, is you are a great coach and you are a great mentor to a lot of people. You've
I
done it
try.
for shows, you've done it for songwriting competitions
Yeah.
and singing competitions. How did you get into that? Or
I don't know if it's great, but as I told you, my major is advertising. I approach it from a very organic way or process. I will just share from my heart without holding back anything what I feel will work or won't work. I don't claim to be really a strong vocalist, solo singer, but I have an ear from a producer's point of view, what will work commercially, and from a songwriter's point of view, what will work commercially. So I just share what I know, what I think will work, but it's not coming from an academic standpoint. No, it's very, very organic. How I started at that, with that, again, our national artist, Ariane. 3 years into company, he offered me a teaching job to teach voice at the Ryan Kayabyab Music Studio in Makati. You must realize I've never taught voice, so he gave me kids to coach and mentor.
Yeah.
So I stayed with him for 5 years. I learned a lot. You know, it's just like anything else, and you've been hearing this. When you teach, you learn.
Definitely.
You learn also.
solidifies what you're
from the
teaching.
kids.
It's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm right.
Right. And you also learn new things from the kids. So there, I started at Ariane Kayabyab Music Studio, and then our record producer, who also passed away last year. Her name is Margot Gallardo. When we were working on our 5 years since we started company, we were very blessed to get a recording deal with Ivory Records in 1990. And I was asking for songs from colleagues in the industry. They would say, yeah, I'll write you a song, but never materialize. So Margot, our record producer, said, I can hear you writing counter melodies as a backup singer. Actually, writing the counter melody is already composition. So just try. So I did, and I very, very late. Oh, wait. I was 25 years old. I found out, hey, I
You
could
can
do
write.
this. So I just didn't stop.
Nice. There it is.
I just didn't
So that's
stop.
where it started.
When people think and give you a break, like Ryan, Kaya Biab, and Margot Galliard, and say, and they rally and they say, you can do this even though when you yourself
Don't believe you can.
yeah, you don't believe in yourself, because I'm that's a whole other episode. They're very self-critical, very hard on myself, especially when you're younger. They give you the break, you dare and try it, and you just do it regardless of the outcome. Things happen because you took a chance.
And it still works out. What do you think makes a successful artist, with all of the mentoring and the coaching that you've done, the teaching that you've done, the judging of shows consistently? What has worked?
Success is very subjective. The definition of success. You can be a singer-songwriter or a struggling singer-songwriter, but if you are able to give birth to your art the way you want it to go, the way you envisioned it in your head, regardless of the number of streams, regardless of the number of followers you have, regardless of what's the term? The metrics or the algorithm you have in social media.
Yeah.
But you were in your lifetime, you were able to give birth to what you had in your head. And it happened. It really happened. That can be measured as success.
Okay.
To be honest about this, I knew what I was getting into. When you are a group singer, you don't earn as big as a solo singer,
Of course,
because
you
the
split it.
pot gets divided by the number of the members.
Yeah.
So I got into this totally unplanned, hoping that the music would work out. But I didn't get into this, I want to be rich or famous. First of all, I had no illusions of being famous or really, because I don't look the part. They in the Philippines, or no, not in the Philippines,
Wow.
in the world.
It's an interesting
there
perspective.
there is a standard of beauty that people, conventional beauty or conventional being handsome. I don't look the part, and I know that. But I know that also I had something to offer that is special from him. Not mine, but from him. So I kept at it. So success can be measured in those terms. Of course, the obvious thing is to measure success through materialistic things. If your talent fee is getting big, if you have access to your goals, like a home or a car, that can be a measure of success. If you have lots of fans or followers, that's a measure of success. But for me, I think it's both. I don't want to put something out there now, it's all about ideals. You also have to be practical. There are bills to pay. Inflation is high right now. Life is much harder on a tough economy. So you also have to be a good business person and a good artist, because you cannot just be so up in the clouds and talk about art and music and beautiful things and have your Meralco bill cut off. So,
But I'm an artist.
yeah, that doesn't work anymore.
Yep.
And that notion, you wait for the muse to visit you. No,
You have to make it happen.
Example, one of the jobs that I also like doing is when companies commission me to do jingles. Some people look down on that because that isn't art. That's not like pure art. Because in a way you are a supplier.
Yeah.
Supplier to the company, to the client. But I'm very challenged by the demands, the parameters, and the requirements of the clients because it stretches you as an artist to be versatile.
Makes you creative, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't wait when the client says, I need the song in 48 hours. You produce.
Wow. Yeah.
You produce. So success is very subjective. For me, it's half and half. It's getting to do what you want to do from an artistic and creative point of view. Of course, I will not lie. It's nice to have financial and commercial success, the little that I have. You know, I mean, after all these years, I still don't consider myself as a top tier A-list artist, but that was never what I was aiming for in the first place. That wasn't the point why I was doing it. The point was to be creatively and artistically fulfilled, in my case, in my journey, through vocal harmonies and music that I find beautiful, and luckily and thank God, our public likes it also.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And also aligning yourself with people who inspire you. I always try my best to be in a room or in a creative circle wherein you're kind of the dumb one in the room because you learn from everyone else. That's why I always align myself with people, magnificent people like Ryan Kayabyab, or people in the art, or even people in fashion design or industrial design, because it spills their excellence, their vision, their fire in their belly. It spills over through osmosis. So it comes out in your work because you are inspired by them. So that's how. Well, I guess longevity is also a measure of success. Longevity, although not really. Look what happened to the Beatles. No,
but they're still considered,
they are
can be successful.
Pop gods. Pop gods. Small
the music
letter
will live
G.
on.
But oh my gosh, look what happened to them. So longevity isn't rin naman a basis, but it is a big blessing for you to still be invited to the party of the entertainment industry, and it hasn't come to a point na, oh God, please put them to pasture. Hindi pa naman umaabot sa ganun.
And I'm sure it will never get there in your lifetime, Sir Moy. I've got
God
just a couple
willing.
more questions.
Sorry, am I
No, this is
rambling?
amazing.
Sorry,
this is amazing. This is
sorry.
good. Like, there's so many golden nuggets for all the listeners and the viewers.
I hope.
And this is for the artist. If you could speak to the childhood or the teenage self,
God.
maybe like
Issues.
one or two things. Yeah, one or two things you could tell yourself, because I think this is what a lot, like even for myself, something I'd like to be able to hear from you. What would you tell your young
issues,
self?
man. Don't be so hard on yourself. Even up to now.
You're still hard on yourself.
Yeah. I'm wired that way.
Yeah,
Even my own
perfectionist.
siblings would tell me, calm down. Calm the F down. Calm down. I don't know, it's my neurosis, I guess. But
wired.
to my younger self, be kinder to yourself. I'm trying to do that, you know. Last year was extremely tough for me and my family. We lost 4 relatives and close people. When you have an immediate brush with death in your family, it really messes your brain, because death and grief is no longer a concept that's in the air. You live with it every day, even up to now, you know. Yesterday, there are triggers that a song comes on the radio and you remember your uncle and you remember your producer. So it's life-changing. So after having such a very, very tough year, I said I have to be kinder to myself, you know. I'm 2/3 done with my life, God willing, no? If
Let's keep
our
going.
average age is 80 or 70, I'm 2/3 done. So I think I have to be kinder to myself. And I would also tell my younger self, and be more forgiving for the messes, or whether it's artistic or personal. Be more forgiving of yourself. Because it's funny, I was at Mass yesterday with my sister, and we were talking about friends, and they have their own crosses to bear. And she said this line that really stuck to me. Really. She said, in the end, everyone is flawed. So we should be less judgmental. Everyone is flawed, whether you're an artist or, just by being human, you're flawed. So we can stop passing judgment. I have to tell this to myself. And be kinder to ourselves. So that would be the main thing. Give yourself a break.
Wow.
Yeah, because before when I would mess up on stage, man, 3 days of being angry with myself.
You're just in bed, curled up like
and angry. Why did it happen? I did the assignment. I did my part. I was responsible. I studied my material. I prepared for it, and there's still. And also, one more thing: do not equate excellence with perfection, because those are two different things. You can come up with something beautiful and lasting without it being perfect, because that's unattainable. Unless you're forever married to auto-tune. And auto-tune is not human. You know that. That's not human. So
I think we have the same problems, Moy. I have that too.
Well, I think you're at that.
Perfectionist is just
I learned. Someone wise said that, but I learned you learned it early on. I learned it in my mid-30s. That perfectionism. I used to be proud of that. Because I thought that perfectionism would set me apart from the rest.
Yeah.
Because I many issues, thinking that I have to prove to myself. I may not look the part, but if I have something really perfect to give or special to give, I am worthy. Yeah. I am worthy of the blessings.
Wow, interesting.
But someone wise said, perfectionism is the fastest highway to unhappiness. And I had to choose. Did I want to aim for perfection? Or did I want to be unhappy all my life?
Yeah.
I didn't want to be unhappy.
Happiness
By that time, at 36, 37, you're like middle age. So I didn't want to be unhappy. I wanted to be happy. So I let that go. And even though there are still times you're in the studio, you still can't let go of the mix, or you want to keep on going, keep on doing take after take after take. I'm better at it now. Let it go. You can fix that in post, or don't be so proud, and leave some space of humanity in the track, because if it's
too clean,
if it's tonally perfect, that's not human. That's a robot. Yeah. That's a box talking. That's Melodyne or auto-tune talking. So leave some space for human. Now, I'm not saying make your work sloppy. No, I'm never saying that. But if I'm leaving something with you, perfection is the fastest road to unhappiness, unless that's where you want to be. But not me. Not me anymore.
Amazing. Final question. What keeps you creative? How do you stay creative?
By being open to the world. Navigating life and the world with an open heart, open ears, open eyes, open mind. Easier said than done, because at this point in my life, I'm so set in my ways. I know who I am. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I know what is my aesthetic. But still being open to new things, to new opinions, to new processes, to new viewpoints. So if you're open to life and you're not saying, by being an eternal student, up to now, Gio, I would travel and attend workshops, symposium.
What type of workshops?
Vocal harmony workshops, vocal jazz workshops. I would spend on my own dime, you know, because it fills my soul. I can never say I know it all because I don't. No one can say that. I choose to be an eternal student. So by being open to everything, and I'm not just talking about music, anything, architecture, visual art, dance, all forms of human expression, it bleeds somehow. That piece of art bleeds and seeps into your own art. It will manifest itself. So the nice thing, you're talking about this, you know, with Pinoy Playlist Music Festival, I never had access to acts like you guys. You would perform in places where I didn't have access to or would be too conscious to go to because, you know, I don't want to be the tito in the only
of course not.
old person in the room. Nakaka-conscious. But you know, I would, because of Pinoy Playlist Music Festival, I had access. And I was very, very surprised that I truly enjoy. It's not my first go-to type of music. I was so awed by the artistry and musicality of Razorback. Their hard rock. I've never been into hard rock. But now when I understood that rock and jazz are very similar because there's a lot of improvisation, a lot of composing at the moment on the fly. That's how rock is, you know, when you do a solo. And also, I mean, I've never been a rap person, but when it's done in front of you and someone's firing off raps and rhymes like Glock 9, you'd be in awe. And I would think to myself, they have something really special. Their gift is special. So that was my biggest takeaway with Pinoy Playlist. I opened myself up to new music and I was floored by the artistry, the craft, and the beauty of their work. So it opened me up more.
Wow. Sir Moy, we're good. Thank you so much. Thank you for...
you will have to edit a lot.
Not at all. Actually, we'll go straight. But thank you so much for offering your knowledge and being forever a student and being super humble. It's actually amazing, right? Like, super humble.
I don't know about that. Company will laugh at what you're saying. I'm a very, very flawed person. But for now, when I'm talking to you, I say... Some people might take it the wrong way, but I speak from my heart.
Yeah, that's all you need.
But thank you for having me and thank you for listening. And Gio, on a personal note, I am a fan of yours with the showcase that you presented at Pinoy Playlist. My gosh, you could offer so much more, and I look forward to witnessing and being in the room when you really lay it on the line and, you know, give us your very all. I am a fan, Gio. Salamat. Thanks for having me on the show.
Amazing. You guys heard that? Only here on Creative Pickings, Sir Moy Ortiz. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Salamat.